Hey X, I will try and keep this as short as possible, but I've got something that might be relevant, and at any rate, I want to get it off of my chest. To get it out of the way, I won't be going into specific details about myself or my family, for obvious reasons, but I still feel I need to tell the story. It's been on my mind way too much lately. Anyway, the only bit of contextual information that you need to know about my family is that a close family member of mine committed a mass murder. As you can imagine, this caused a bit of a scandal in the family, and no one wanted anything to do with it. Everyone split off, a lot of us stopped talking. His immediate family were blamed. It was a huge mess. Because of everyone taking a step back, I ended up dealing with a lot of the grunt work, such as what to do with his possessions. Now, the house had always been really fucking weird. I spent a lot of holidays there as a kid, and still visited every now and again from college, and because we were close in age, we would explore the house together. Lots of weird shit went down, but I assumed later that a lot of it had been our imaginations just running away with us. The house was creepy and big, so it was not difficult. However, this relative of mine, I'll call him Mike for ease of reading, would always insist he saw way more creepy shit than anyone else. At first, I thought he was just crying for attention, but we were kind of close, and he privately confided in me that he was actually kind of freaked out, and I started believing him, partially because he seemed so honest, but partially because of something that happened to both of us on that particular visit. As I mentioned before, we were close in age, so we would share a room when I was visiting. It was the middle of the night. We were passed out. Everything was going good. I don't remember exactly what I was dreaming about, but I know that night I had a nightmare, and I woke up at the exact same time that Mike did. Both of us sat bolt upright, and we must have been screaming, because I remember hearing footsteps in the hall and the light going on as someone came in to check on us. I also remember that when the light in the hallway went on, some of the light shone into the room where the door was open slightly, and I saw someone standing in the room with us. I only got a brief glimpse of the figure, but it seemed to be a female, tall, especially for a woman, probably around 6'5", and while I could not place what it was about her that looked so strange, she seemed wrong somehow, like she was stretched out or something. I don't know. I didn't see her face, just the outline of her figure. Parents came in, checked we were okay. I guess they thought one of us had the dream and screamed, and the other woke up and started screaming as well. We sort of rolled with it, half asleep, kind of still shaken up, and eventually we were left alone. And after a minute or so of silence, Mike said to me, "You saw her as well." I remember how he worded it. It wasn't a question, so I just said I had. I asked him what she was, and he said he would tell me in the morning. When I asked him at breakfast, he pretended not to remember. I was kind of pissed, but in the day, the whole thing did not seem that scary, and Mike was kind of weird, so whatever. I am not touching this. The next couple of nights passed normally, and then the night after that, me and Mike were chilling in the bathroom, being little shits, and messing around with the hand soap. For some reason, we thought it would be fucking hilarious to cover the mirror with soap. I have no idea why. Anyway, we did this. Haha, what a laugh. And then we had to clean it off. Obviously, soap gets thicker when you add water to it, so it was taking us much longer than usual. Mike eventually decides to go and get a cloth or something from the kitchen to make it easier, and leave me with our mistake. Almost as soon as he is gone, I get the feeling I am being watched. I'm thinking, fuck, that's it, I have been caught, and turn to the door with a nice apologetic look on my face. No one is there, and I'm kind of relieved, but the feeling has not changed. The windows in the bathroom are only partially covered, and I glance over to them, just to check. Now, I'm on the upper floor, so obviously nothing was there, but when I glanced at the window, I sort of had that really awkward feeling that happens when you accidentally make eye contact with someone who has been staring at you, and then the feeling vanished. Mike got back at this point and asked me what the fuck I was staring at, and I tell him nothing, but he gives me this look that's basically like, yeah, I know you're talking shit. For whatever reason, he decides not to press it, and we clean the soap off. Nothing else weird happened until the last day of the visit. Like I said before, Mike was kind of fucking weird. He would have these periods of time where he would just go really quiet, almost like catatonic, and he would just stare at nothing for ages. He would also have times where he would freak the fuck out and scream and throw himself at things, kind of like a temper tantrum, but nothing would set him off. He would just fucking go for it. Looking back, it was really strange, but at the time we were both like 9 years old, so it was just a case of calling my mom or my aunt or my cousin or whoever was there and older than me and letting them deal with it. I am packing up my stuff in the room, and Mike comes in to get something, and we are talking about shit I cannot remember now. I am shoving it in some games into my bag when Mike just freezes up, and I sort of think, here we go, just ignore him and maybe he will snap himself out of it. But then he talks, and that's not normal for this, because usually he clams up. He just says my name in this really quiet, shaky voice, and I look, and he points over to the corner by the door and the closet. I look and there is nothing there, so I'm kinda just like, dude, what the fuck? But before I have the chance to say it, I see this weird kind of blur of movement, and then the door opens slightly more and slams shut. Mike starts screaming. I'm actually pretty shaken up because I definitely saw something move from that corner. All hell breaks loose for a few moments while people run in and try to calm him down. I am insisting I saw it too. By this point, Mike is screaming that he saw something, and my mom gets all pissed off with me for encouraging Mike or whatever. And then we leave, and I don't see Mike for a couple of years, thanks to moving around. Gonna speed this shit up a bit. Some weird shit happened in those intervening years. Nothing major, like when we both had that dream, but just more seeing shadows/figures, doors and windows opening on their own, feeling like we were being watched, etc. I kind of just pretended I did not see it, because Mike was getting really badly convinced over whatever he was saying, and they were trying to get him to see people over it, and I did not want people thinking I was crazy, and I was worried that I was too, because if he was, then I might be, etc. Fast forward to just before all this shit majorly went down. No ages to retain anonymity, but it's been a long ass time. Over the years, Mike had gone from kind of weird to super fucking hella weird, so I barely spoke to him. When I did, it would be online, over instant messengers and stuff. He was not great at conversation, so they usually died pretty quickly, and eventually, I gave up for the most part. Then one day, he hit me up first, which was fucking unheard of, and he was asking about the night we had that dream, which was also unheard of. He asked if I remembered it, and I said yeah. He asked what I had seen, and I told him about the female figure, and how she had been really tall and really skinny, and it had been kind of freaky. Then he asked me about what I had seen in the bathroom, and I barely remembered it until he reminded me, and then I explained about feeling watched, and how it had gone away when I looked at the window. Then I asked what he had seen the day I had left, and he had freaked out so badly. For a while, I did not think he was going to reply. He always vanished mid-instant message, but after about 20 minutes or so, he did. Not gonna lie, I thought he was full of shit, and honestly, it sounds like so much bullshit, even writing it out now, but for the sake of telling the story, I will have to repeat it. He said he saw the same female figure again, but he described her in a lot more detail. He said he had been seeing her frequently for basically his whole life, but that had been the first time he saw her in that much detail. He had the same description as me of her body, unnaturally tall, thin, but he described her hands as being twice as long as a normal hand, with really long fingernails that were in bad condition. He also described her face, which he said was just as long and narrow as everything else, with large eyes and no mouth. He said that where her mouth should be, there was kind of a hollow, but it seemed to be covered in skin. I kind of humored him, I guess, because at this point, Mike was that family member that is quite clearly insane. I did not want to outright say I did not believe him, or make him feel like shit, because the kid was obviously mentally ill and could not help it, but I did not really buy it. Even with what I'd seen, I was a little kid in a strange house, and I was probably susceptible to that kind of thing. I did take the opportunity to ask a few more questions though, and that's when I found out that he had been seeing her his whole life, and also that most of his encounters with her were not visual. Instead, he said, She would whisper in his ear a lot, or he would hear her nails scraping against the doors or the windows, etc. He also said she was not the only one he saw, and that recently, over the last year or so, he had started seeing other things, mostly disembodied faces with the same long, pale features and no mouths. Sounded like some psychotic illness to me, which would make more sense. I had no idea just how sick he actually was though, and obviously some serious shit went down. So, skipping over a lot here for anonymity, Mike goes apeshit and kills a lot of people and leaves us all with a big ass mess. No motive, no note, no nothing. No one fucking knew why he did it. We are all pissed off, it's horrible. Lots of us stop talking. No one wants to touch his stuff at all, and eventually, I step up to do it because I want this all to be over and done with. I didn't have to do a lot. Seems no one wants the stuff or the house, so it's all being handed over to the relevant people. All I have to do is tidy up a bit, throw out all of the old food, and donate anything suitable if I want to. I figure no one will want his stuff, so I just start bagging shit up so it can be thrown out easier. I decide to do it over one weekend and just spend the night sleeping on the downstairs couch, and then I can fuck off and be done with it. I have to collect the keys from the fucking cops, and I get there and a lot of it is boarded up to stop people breaking in. I let myself in through the police door. It's like a boarded up door with a lock, I guess, and flip all of the lights on. Everything looks eerily normal, aside from the fact that it is a permanent night in there from the boards. I decide that there is no use waiting around and start hauling ass and throwing shit out. I empty the fridges, I throw out anything perishable, and then I start throwing out anything that could be stolen and sold on to people who are into that sort of thing. It's all gonna be burned, so I just bag it up and don't bother ripping up documents or anything. By this point, it is starting to get dark, and I don't want to keep going around the side of the house with the trash, so I stack it all up in the kitchen and bring it several bags at a time. Shit starts going down as soon as I make the first of these trips. I am walking back to the house up the drive/courtyard bit, and I do the dramatic, look up at the house and wonder where it all went wrong. And as clear as day, I see someone in the upstairs window. The upstairs is now boarded up, and I can see someone in Mike's old room. I turned all the lights on in the house when I got there, so there is a clear silhouette. No mistaking it. Well, I fucking brick it, because someone is in the goddamn house, and I think about calling the cops, but then I calm myself down and think, look, they're probably just some local kids who want to go and creep around the house because it's a cool story. They've probably been up there for hours, waiting for me to leave, bricking themselves. I go back into the house, go to the stairs, and call up to them that if they come down and leave now, I won't call the cops, and they will get in no trouble. There is no movement, so I try again, and still no movement. I'm pissed off now, because this has fucked my family up, and I'm getting angry at everyone who thinks that this is some cheap thrill. So I go up there, ready to kick ass, and obviously, there is no one up there. I check and double check all of the rooms, but nothing. I'm kind of angry, kind of creeped out, but I remember this house is kind of weird, and it would be best to just finish throwing the shit out and get out of there as soon as possible. I go and drag the rest of the trash out, and it takes me around 7 trips. On 5 of those trips, I see that figure in the window again. By this point I am more than freaked out. I've been up twice more to look at the room and see if anything is in there that can be creating that shadow. I have rearranged the furniture to make it impossible that that is what's happening, and every time the figure is still there. I just want to fuck off to a hotel or something and stay there, but I'm legally not allowed to leave the premises with the keys unless I am returning them to the cops, and that is not a risk that I want to take. I am fucking stuck here until morning. There is no way I'm gonna sleep much, so I watch TV for a while, and I get to thinking about all of the weird shit that Mike told me, about the woman in the faces, and then I realize I am not doing myself any favors and get up to make coffee. In the kitchen, I walk down the lower hall and make sure the back door is locked, and it is not. I could have sworn I locked it, but whatever. I was kind of freaked out. I could have forgotten. I open it to make sure the lock on the other side has not been tampered with, and then, as I close it again, I look out onto the backyard and I see faces. There is no way I could have been seeing anything. There is nothing back there but grass and some trees, and you can't see the lights from any surrounding houses. There are not any roads. These were not blobs of light. They were formed, pale faces, just fucking hovering there in the dark. For a moment I was frozen, and this is actually how I know they were legit, because I didn't just see them and freak out and slam the door. I stared at them for a good 30 seconds before I snapped out of it and closed the door. Then, for reasons I can't explain, probably because I'm a fucking moron, I headed upstairs to see if I could still see them from up there. To sum it up, I can see them. I got into the bathroom where years earlier, me and Mike did our bit of impulsive decorating, and I look out the window, and there they are. They look even weirder from this angle, because they don't seem to be heads. There is nothing at the back of them. They are literally just faces, like floating masks, I guess, and they are all tilted, looking at me. Now, this is some grade A fucking bullshit at this point. I genuinely think I'm going mad. I even go down to the basement and check that there aren't any carbon monoxide leaks, because I've heard that shit causes hallucinations. But then I realize I'm being a dumbass, because Mike lived there practically his whole life and would have died if the leak had been going on for that long, and no one else had any problems, just Mike and me to some extent. So now I am scared I'm going fucking crazy. I go back up to Mike's room, double check that nothing has moved. I don't know why, but I was kind of obsessed with checking that room, because I thought if anything was going to actually appear, it would be there. There is not much left in Mike's room, because the police damn near took it all, and nothing else has moved. I check the closet and behind the door, and I notice that on the door, about 2 feet above the handle, there are scratch marks. They are faint, and I can feel them more than I can see them, but they are jagged, as though someone was opening the door by hooking their nails on them and having them slip around. By this point I am stressed out, I'm tired, I'm upset. This is a bad time all around, and I'm just kind of done with it. Whatever. If there is a ghost or something in here, as far as I am concerned, she can keep the place. I go out, shut the door, go downstairs, and try and watch TV. I guess I must have passed out, even though I didn't think I would, because the next thing I know, there is some shitty infomercial playing, and I have one hell of a crick in my neck. I am about to sit up and stretch, when it hits me that something is very fucking wrong. I can't place it at first, but then I realize all of the lights are off. My heart was fucking going for it, because I know I did not shut them off, and the TV is still on, so it is not a power outage. Again, I'm about to sit up, but something tells me not to. I can't describe what the feeling was exactly, but it was basically that feeling you get sometimes that goes so deep it's all you can think about, and you are on the edge of something, but you don't know what. It was raw terror. Eventually, I placed it as the same feeling you get when you are being watched, but on crack or something. It was all I could think about, and I remember closing my eyes again because I knew that something was staring at me, and I needed it to think that I had gone back to sleep. It was probably only minutes, but it felt like hours. I tried to slow my breathing and fake sleep, shifting every so often to make it look legit, but the feeling did not go away. I still felt eyes on me, and now I was convinced I could hear scratching or shuffling or something. It was over the buzz of the TV. I can't hear infomercials now without remembering this, but there was definitely something moving, and then suddenly there was not. I stupidly thought it was over, but nope. I can hear whispering beside my ear. I am on my side, facing the TV, and the whispering is right next to my ear, meaning whatever is whispering is leaning over me. I can't see the flicker from the TV anymore because it is blocking my view. I literally thought I was going to piss myself. I think if I hadn't forgotten about the coffee earlier, I would have done. I can't work out what is being said, even though I feel I should have. It was a woman's voice, and she was speaking English, but almost as soon as I understood the words, the meaning would drop away, and it would sound like nonsense again. Have you ever seen one of those videos where they show how English sounds to non-English speakers? It sounded kind of like that. She whispered constantly, without breath, for what seemed like ages. I have no idea how long it actually was. The entire time, I was laying there, pretending to be asleep, terrified my eyes would open randomly, without my consent, and I would see her there. The whispering stops, and I hear that weird scratch shuffling noise, and I think if she fucks off right now, I don't care about the goddamn laws. I am fucking off to the nearest hotel, and I am not stepping foot back in that house, ever again. But I hear the shuffling go to the other side of the room, and then a creak like someone sat in the armchair. The side of my face where she had been close to feels ice cold, and I am straining to hear if she has moved again, but there is nothing. She is sitting in the damn chair, and there is no way I can do anything without her knowing I'm awake. I am telling you, to this day, that was the longest night of my life. Now, the windows are boarded up, so I have no idea when it gets light. I have no idea how long I lay there for, but eventually, it stopped feeling like someone was there. It was like a weight in the air vanished, but it still took me a minute to dare open my eyes. There was nothing there, and I think from the moment I sat up to the moment I was in my car, hauling ass out of there, maybe 60 seconds passed. In those 60 seconds, I noticed two things. The first was that Mike's bedroom door was open again. The second was that as I headed down the drive, the silhouette was back in the window. I got the fuck out, dropped off the keys, and I never looked back. I tried not to think about it for a while, but lately, and this sounds really fucking dumb, but whatever, I've developed this weird anxiety about going into bathrooms at night. I am convinced every time that I'm going to see one of those faces just hovering there. It's fucking irrational, because I only ever saw those faces once, but I am so convinced sometimes that I freeze up before opening up the door. I have not seen anything yet, but it's getting to the point where it is a constant thing, so I decided to just write it all down somewhere and see if it helped. I'm not sure what I hope will come of this, but I guess I'm kind of hoping it's something spooky, because if not, that raises a whole load of other questions. I can't say for certain if this had any hand in driving Mike towards doing what he did, but I for sure as hell do not want to find out for myself. Hey, hope you've enjoyed the story so far. If you want to hear more, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment because it lets YouTube know you like the content and helps more people to see these videos. My next big goal for the channel is 100,000 subscribers, and as a celebration, I will be doing a Q&A video once we hit that goal. Thank you, and back to the stories. I don't know about creepiest, but it's something that's been fairly consistent. This happened about 2-ish years ago, so I was probably around 17 years old or so at the time. I am sitting at my computer at some point, after midnight, playing some game. Next to my computer is a closet, and the door opens such that the door is right beside me. I can't see anything on the other side of it, of course. I randomly look away from the screen and over in that direction. I catch a glimpse of someone peeking out from the corner of the door. It hides behind the door about a second after I look at it. I feel some fear, naturally, but noticeably also feel intense rage. I get up and walk over there with the intent to beat the living shit out of whatever this thing is. Of course, there is nothing there. I decide to call it a night. I had trouble sleeping, if I recall correctly. This was not the first time I've seen these shadow people around my parents' house. Other instances. I was really young, pre-kindergarten young. I see a man standing in my parents' room, looking at me. I genuinely believe it's my dad and run towards it. It moves into the bed and out of sight and disappears. Not really scared, but very confused. I look around the room for him. My mom and aunt, who was visiting, shitting themselves and almost call the cops. Final story. Unsure if it's truly connected. I wake up one night. There is a girl in the corner of my room, fucking screaming. My dog is seemingly barking at it. I feel genuine fear from these things for the first time. I haul goddamn ass out of my room and proceed to run into the wall of my hallway. I no longer feel fear now that I've stopped running. I just feel confusion. The one thing in common with all of these is that they appear like what people describe shadow people on here as being, i.e., no distinguishable features, all shadow. My mom has had run-ins with one of these, notably one seeing the shadow man, the one in the first two of my experiences, in the hall of my grandparents on the same property, walking around. She described him as having a cowboy-style hat, but she did not see much else, presumably like pick-related. Also notable is that, cliché as it may sound, our property is on a former slave plantation and Native American tribal grounds. The woods here have always been spooky and foreboding to me. Anyone else have any experiences with these shadow people? Be me. My dad is not home. He is on a trip to Hungary. He is trying to sell used cars. My GF, brother and mother are home. There is randomly some knocks on the door. It is almost dark, not fully, but hardly any light. I go to the front door. Balkans and Ons know that no one actually uses any front doors. Everyone goes in from the back door for some reason. I look out of the slightly blurred glass on door. A human with some very unconventional clothing for that area, very Western. A black school shooter coat, a black fedora-like hat, I shit you not. That is what they were wearing. You can barely see any face, maybe because of the door. Even for the blurred window though, the generic skin color was not really seen, as told by my GF and her boomer mother. Mother is spooked, but no one actually does this when there are break-ins there, so she just asked, who is it? It's a figure with very broken Ukrainian and a really weird, uncomfortable voice. They say they are a relative. The mother asks again, what relative? Who exactly? They just say relative again. Slight back and forth. The guy just stands there and murmurs the same word in a weird way. Nothing else, or just ignores the question. The mother and children are shitting themselves. She said that if he's a relative, call her on her phone very quickly and then she will let her in. Slight delay. The guy started to go onto the street. It is not really weird for people here to just plainly go into your garden like that. A few seconds later, the figure disappears from sight. The mother opens the door to see who the fuck it is. Disappeared. Ran to the street to catch a glimpse. No one. I told her about these legends, and she cannot sleep since then, and says it comes into her mind every single day, because all three agree on everything. Slightly more info that these are normie people, so they did not know about all this stuff, nothing even similar. That's why my GF is spooked since then, because I showed her some illustrations and she almost started crying because the feeling from it was so similar. Clothing-wise to pick related, for example, without any eyes or something. Also, it is weird to me that nothing happened to anyone else at the village. No one noticed anything similar, and it is quite the lively town. Also, it is in a random place, so why a guy with a random school shooter coat and fedora was even near a random Ukrainian town? Why no one else saw it? Why all three family members saw the same thing? I am really convinced there is something to this legend. Maybe our minds animate this shit or something. What we see is what our minds animate also. Hard to justify really, especially that clothing form. The skin color missing from the window too. It was very weird for them, a kind of strange unknown feeling they never felt since, as they mentioned. Insane stuff, man. I shit you not, all of this stuff happened. I am still trying to find justifications, especially even her boomer mother being uneasy justifying it. Of course, she told us it was a man, but what was weird for her was that she could not see him on the street afterwards, and it never happened to anyone else. My GF's family have the most popular shop there, so the mother asked everyone basically around, and no one else saw anything. I live in a college dorm with my roommate. Have nightmares about fairly typical scary things. Flashes, zoom-ins on disturbing images, things that I have never seen before, realized in crystal clear imagery, etc. For some reason, I am completely unmoved in the nightmare. I am not scared at all. The part of me that normally feels fear is just not home. I think clearly. Is that all you've got? I wake up, lying on my side in bed. Eyes are closed, but I am 100% awake. because something is watching me. It's in the room about 10 feet away, staring at me. It fucking hates me, like despises me, and wants to inflict pain and suffering and terror above all else. I can sense it so vividly that I could sketch out the exact position of everything in the room, including this thing. The nightmare was not scary, but I am fucking terrified. I know about sleep paralysis and shadow people, so I try moving my arms and legs without making too much noise or letting the thing know that I'm awake. I slowly and deliberately move my arms and legs and shift under the covers, trying to keep my breathing steady. I open my eye a sliver and look where the entity is. It's an irregular ball of shadow about the size of a football, maybe 3 feet off the ground. Spherical, it's completely non-humanoid. It's not a shadow person, and I am not sleep paralyzed. My roommate snorts and turns over. The entity pulls back and seeps through the wall, as if it's descending towards the ground. It disappears, and the feeling of loathing disappears with it. Even if I imagined it and it was just some nightmare lobe of my brain made manifest, it was creepy as fuck.